Hello, it's the Catholic State where we talk about the Jewish question from a Catholic perspective. So today I have something special planned. I'm going to go through my video game here. It's a demo that I made called Ryan's Adventure. Ryan was my brother that passed away a few years ago. And earlier this week, we were talking about how, and me and Chris Lawrence were talking about how, Catholics should make video games for like with Catholic themes or, just take the type of video games that are out there and just like wash away the bad stuff and keep the Catholic themes in them. So that's what I tried to do with this game. So I'm still going to answer all your questions today. I'm just going to play this game while I answer your questions. So let's get started. So if you can hear the theme song, I wrote this. The inspiration for the theme song was the 1980 show from MacGyver. So that's where I got this. So just FYI. But I'll start the game while people start asking questions. And like for this right here, the portrait of the main character, somebody gave me feedback that they didn't like the portrait. That's kind of how my brother looked. He had dark hair, dark eyes, a beard. So shaggy hair and a beard like that. So that's what I modeled him after. So sorry if you don't like it, but that's just is what it is. So yeah. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, I get this Paladin guy. I modeled him after like the main character of Final Fantasy IV, kind of. Okay, so Crisis is Coming says, how bad do you think is the crisis? Well, I mean, it's a crisis in the church. It's bad. This isn't, it shouldn't be a surprise to any Catholics that there is a crisis in the church. I mean, a lot of saints have talked about this, how like the church being the bride of Christ has to be like Christ, and that it suffers and goes through a passion, right? And even seemingly dies and then comes back 3 days later. Or like Christ did it, maybe not three days later. But so for people that understand like these prophecies from the saints and stuff, like this shouldn't come off as anything surprising, right? I mean, the church has to go under a passion, just like the Son Jesus Christ did. But eventually, it's going to come out of it, and it's going to come glorified and stronger than it ever was, right? And that might be like at the very end of time, but that's just going to be what happens. And regarding the world, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, like I was just talking about this yesterday on Dr. Deep State's Locals with Dr. Haugen himself and John Carter and Chris Lawrence was on there too. And we were just talking about how things keep getting worse. It's like the kind of the Overton window concept of things keep moving to the left, but it's like the way that it works is like things get progressively worse because it's like they test, see if something works, and it's too radical, so they dial it down a little bit. People accept it, and then once people accept it, they dial it up, and they just keep on doing that 2 steps forward, 1 step backward process until we're at where we're at. Like if you look 100 years ago, like the people from a century ago would look at our world today and just be scandalized, right? And it's because it's just baby steps along the way that Satan and his people have in his synagogue have done, right? And again, it shouldn't be a surprise because it even says this in the book of Apocalypse, Revelation. It says this in the Bible that towards the end, and like not only that, but private prophecy as well from the saints. Towards the end, God will unchain Satan and unleash him in the world, right? So it shouldn't be like a big, like, whoa, how did this happen? It's kind of like, well, yeah, this is what was prophesied, so this is what we got. So I guess I don't have like a I don't get angry about it. I know some people probably get angry about it, and I really sorry if you do. We really shouldn't. It's just one of those things where we knew this was coming. God told us this was coming through his, through scripture, his prophets, his apostles, St. Paul, all the evangelists, through all the church fathers and other saints, mystics. Like, they said this was coming, so here it is. So shouldn't be surprised, So hopefully that answers your question. You said yep, exactly. So I guess that did. Kath and Camo 2. Talk about balancing seeing the salvation story seemingly coming to an end, but not knowing for sure when. Seeing the salvation story seemingly coming to an end, but not knowing for sure when. I'm trying to understand what you mean by that. If you mean like the fact that a lot of people are apostatizing, and yeah, I mean that's part of the process of what will happen towards the end of times, or the passion of the church is, people will apostatize, and then the fact that there's all this heresy in the church, and we have these weak leaders, weak bishops and popes that really don't do anything, or if anything, sometimes, like a lot of times, they commit these egregious errors themselves. I mean, like this again, it's something that the church will have to go through. I mean, yeah, I don't know what else really to say. It's like it tests our hope and faith, and I think this is why a lot of people despair, or they go into denial, and why there's different camps. Like, you got different camps in the church, but you just got to keep the faith and keep the hope, right? Remember, our Lord said in Matthew 16:18 that the gates of hell will not prevail over the church. So if you believe what he says and you trust in God, then you got to hold the faith, right? This is our test. This is the test of our times, watching all these things and holding the faith, right? And if you don't see it that way, I'm sorry. I'll just pray that you get the grace from God to see it that way. Christ is coming. Do you guys know of TIs? I don't know what TIs are, so sorry. You'll have to elaborate on that. Don't know what a TI is. App 3297. Will you do an episode on Saint Gabriel of Bialystok? Can you refresh me on who that is? I'm thinking, that's not the Saint Gabriel that, like, the monk that shot up a bunch of intruders with his guns, right? Like, that's a different Saint Gabriel, right? I don't know. Like, I'm trying to remember who that is. So if you could help me out here, because I don't have all the saints always memorized and stuff. I'm mostly I'm big on the church fathers and doctors, but some others I'm just kind of like. It's funny because I read the lives of the saints every day. You'd think I would know it, but like I can't remember all this. So yeah, please help me out here. I'll just say it this way: my charism, my mission that I believe is from God, is to talk about the Jewish question from the Catholic perspective. So people keep asking me, will you do this video about this saint and about their lives, and it has nothing to do with the Jewish question? Unfortunately, the answer is no, because that's not a part of my mission. But I mean, I'm sure you'll be able to find videos online of saints like that don't really have much to do with the Jewish question from the Catholic perspective. And if you do that, that's great. But it's probably not going to be from me if it's not from regarding the Adversus Judaeus tradition, because that's not my mission. I mean, I'm sticking to my mission. I'm really not interested in branching out from my mission. I think, how do I say this? I don't want to act like I'm judging people, but I think I've always been understood Catholic humility as being that humility is knowing your place and taking it, knowing what your lane is and staying in your lane, right? So for these people that they get a following because they specialize in something, like me, the Jewish question, right? And then they say, okay, I got a following, and then they just start talking about a bunch of stuff that they don't really know much about. I don't think that's the best. I don't think that's humble. I think a lot of times it's people just letting their fame or their situation get to them and stuff, and so they just start talking about things that are really not really within their charism, and I'm just not going to do that, right? So that's just my thought on that. Is just like, okay, thank you for suggesting stuff for me to talk about that's not regarding Adversus Judaeos. Right now, from my meditations and prayer with God, it seems that he only wants me to talk about the Jewish question from the Catholic perspective. So I'm going to stay in my lane, and I'm not really going to venture outside of it. But thank you. So butterfly in your eye. If we made a historical video game where Catholics battle all their foes since Christ was put on the cross, would they arrest us? I don't think they'd arrest us. It'd be hard to sell that game. I've actually been thinking of it because I'm making this game, and I've been thinking about making some sort of Crusader strategy game where we go after and they've got actually Crusader strategy games out there where it's like Crusader Wars, where you can be Crusaders against the Saracens and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think they might try to make it so you can't sell it. The same thing with this game here. Once you get into it, you'll see like I have some anti-Judaic themes in this game, so they might pull it from the shelves if I ever get it released, right? So it is what it is. Oh yay, TCS Dog's Nose. Oh, thank you, Dog's Nose, as always. I appreciate that. Let's see. If anybody's familiar with like old school RPGs like Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, this game is pretty much like that. I mean, as you can probably see. Oh, St. Gabriel of Bialystok. You said that's one of the saints involved in the blood Passover? Wait a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't he Eastern Orthodox? If he's Eastern Orthodox, I'm not going to cover Eastern Orthodox. I've covered the blood Passover or blood libel stuff, as they call it. I've already covered that. Go to my Rumble channel. I mean, that covering that stuff was what got me banned from YouTube in the first place. So I'm not going to put these videos on YouTube because it'll just get banned again. But you can go to my Rumble channel. I've got multiple videos on blood libel, blood Passover, Jewish ritual murder, whatever you want to call it. And I've got, St. Simon of Trent, and all St. Gabriel. Yeah, I don't have that, but I have St. Simon of Trent, and all the Catholic martyrs over there. But I'm not going to do anything on an Orthodox martyr because I'm not Orthodox or Eastern Orthodox. I'm Orthodox in my Catholic faith, but I'm not going to promote anything Eastern Orthodox because that's not my faith. I don't believe in it. That's why. Okay, crisis is coming. Okay, oh well, basically it's like a demonic oppression. Let's see. Basically it's like demonic oppression, but the agents of the enemy are the powers that be and their pawns. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you mean by that, but it's talked about by the saints and everything again that that a lot of these people towards the end of time, they'll be possessed and they'll be willingly possessed. Like the Antichrist himself will be Jewish, but he's going to be willingly and fully, completely possessed by Satan. Like this is something that, is talked about by multiple church fathers and yeah. So yeah, I mean, of course, they're going to be there's something satanic going on here. Okay. Yeah. Again, I'm not going to talk about that Saint Gabriel guy. I mean, he's not Catholic, so it's not within my charism to talk about to promote non-Catholic martyrs. That's not going to happen. Okay, so discipline, blah blah blah. I can't believe anyone can pretend this is not exactly what Our Lady in the Senses warned us about forever. Rapid acceleration of progress. This clergy is not accidentally diabolical. Yeah, I mean, like we've been warned about this stuff forever, about the crisis in the church and about all the crisis in the world, about what's happening in the end times. So if people are surprised, it's like, well, I mean, part of the crisis is there's a lot of lack of catechesis. A lot of people just don't know their faith, unfortunately. When I converted 8 years ago, I was in a young adult group, and this is where I met my wife. And only me, my wife, and her brother knew about purgatory. All these other young adult Catholics didn't even know what purgatory was. It was that sad. And let me say this: they weren't like obstinate heretics or anything. They just didn't know. They were innocent just by the fact that they just didn't get a good formation in the faith. They wanted to be good Catholics. That's why they were at a young adult Catholic group. They wanted to be the best Catholics they could be, but unfortunately, they just were not formed well. So it is what it is. That's one reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, a lot of people just don't know about these things, right? And that if they knew about this stuff, a lot of people would accept it willingly. Like my wife, for instance, is a cradle Catholic. She never heard about any of this Jewish stuff that I talk about in all my videos, the Ad Versus Judaeus, but she's very devout and Orthodox in her faith. So once I told her, she was like, okay, well, the Catholic faith says, I showed her where the saints say it and the scripture says it. She's like, okay, Catholic Church teaches it, and she accepted it, right? So there's a lot of people out there like that that are ignorant of their faith, but that will accept it if you charitably teach them, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do with my apostolate when it comes to the Ad Versus Judaeus tradition. See, Nemo, I hear a lot of people talking much about Vatican II, but not the decision regarding the oath against modernism. I have a whole argument. I have a whole article on my website talking about modernism. I wrote it a few years ago, really before I started producing videos. It's got some good quotes in there. It's got some, it's got stuff from Pascendi and the oath from Pope St. Pius X and the oath against modernism. But it's also got some stuff from, it's just about tradition and about how it's always been Catholic teaching for us to, we have to hold tradition. Like the Second Council of Nicaea has a anathema that says, if anybody, and this is a verbatim, but it says something along the lines, if anybody does not hold traditions that we have always taught, either through mouth or epistle, let him be anathema. There you go, right? And so St. Vincent of Lérins, a great church father, says that we have to, like a Catholic, his role in the commonatory says, as Catholics, we have to hold the faith that has been believed by all Catholics in all places in all times. And that really is what it means to be a Catholic, is that we are Christians and we are to hold the faith that's been always held by all people at all times, right? And so that's what we do. Oh, and so FYI, this is the town right now with all the happy music. I made it so you have to talk to all the people in the town. I got some accents that I'm about to do here, some probably very bad accents. So just be forewarned. If you get offended, well, sorry. I mean, it is what it is. So here's the church here. Here's a nun. Our Father, she's saying the Our Father prayer. And here's Father Mario, Luigi. Hey, it's a me, Father Mario Luigi. What can I do for you today, my children? Good heavens, my son. I am sorry to hear that Weissum was murdered. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. Perhaps was one of the orcs or goblins. I've been trying to convert them for years. Heathens, I tell you, they have no morality. Sorry for the offense. Forgive me. But the orc camp is to the south, and the goblin cave is to the north. You can check there, but use prudence and caution, my sons. Humility is a virtue, my son. Yes, kneel for the blessing. Benedicta vos omnipotens Deus Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus. Amen. See, I threw some Latin in there. Thanks be to God. I will pray for your success. God bless you, my sons. Sorry. Again, sorry if you're offended. Oh, this one's probably going to offend a bunch of people, but, you know. See, this is the blacksmith shop, and, of course, the blacksmiths are a family of blacks. Their last name are Smith, and they're all black, right? So, get the joke, right? Hey, Tyrone, you get your butt up. You got a customer. I see him, woman. They're right here in front of me. You ain't helping by your yapping. Yo, what's up, homies? You want to buy some good stuff? Know what I'm saying? I just like doing the voices, so if you get offended, I'm sorry. Yeah, you said it there, you pasty white boy. I'm laughing at myself. I know you shouldn't do that. What be a shotgun? Jamal, ain't nobody asked you to talk. Now get off that pot off your head and go play. I be playing superhero, ma. Putting this pot on my head done gave me superpowers. Whoosh. Tyrone, that your son. You better get him straightened up. I tell you what. Shaniqua, get off the boy. He ain't just got a bit of that there autism. He ain't hurting nobody. Now both of y'all go do something so I can help these people. Now get. Sorry, Dad. I'ma play superhero. Whoosh. Tyrone, you about to lose your mind. Ain't nobody got time for that. Go and help these people get their stuff and stop your nonsense. Lordy, woman, one of these days, sorry about Shaniqua and Jamal, y'all. So I don't have any basic armor, nothing. Just basic cloth armor. Sorry. Heck yeah. So what do you need, homeboys? Yeah, this is he's the blacksmith. Again, sorry if anybody's offended. You know, actually, it's funny. It's like the black people that I know, like they would all think that's hilarious. So, you know. Oh, quit making excuses, Tyrone. Ain't nobody got time for that. You guys best go before they start arguing bad. Yeah, usually the type of people that get like really offended about that stuff are like upper middle class white people that live out in the suburbs. You know, I grew up in like a working class, like poor white family out in the country in a trailer park, and like everybody that out from where I grew up would think that's hilarious. And I also had some friends growing up, or had some friends that were black and grew up in the hood, and all of them would think that's hilarious too. It's only the upper middle class white people that be like, "Oh, why are you doing that? It's so offensive." Oh. Here's Mayor Juan Rodrigo Santiago. Hola, senor. I am Mayor Juan Rodriguez Santiago. Welcome to mi casa. How are you doing today? Adios mio. Weissum has the one keeping the orcs and goblins from attacking this village. Orcs and goblins are warring with each other. If Weissum is gone, we can't defend ourselves. Ay caramba. Si, senor. I think this is very probably what happened. Ay caramba. What are you going to do? I'll get back to answer the questions after this town. I got to do these voices. They're just, I think they're funny. I'm sorry if they offend people, but they're funny. Gracias. I'm so thankful for your help, mis amigos. Please welcome me to Lee Brook. Okay. You know what? Maybe while I'm exploring this house, I'll answer some questions. Yeah. Um, do you ever watch America First Fuentes show? I really don't. I watched back in the day when he first came out. I was into like the alt right stuff. This was like, before 2020. I was into the kind of the alt right stuff a little bit more. Hola, señor. Mi nombre es Sofía González Perez de Rodriguez. ¿Qué pasa? Sí. um, yeah. I was into like that alt right stuff back, and like this is back when I was converting to Catholicism. So I got like into that at the same time I got into the Catholicism, and what happened was, I mean, I listened to a little bit of Fuentes then, Andrew Anglin, people like that. Even, I don't know, Richard Spencer, he always came off as gay to me. I couldn't get into Richard Spencer, but I got into a little bit of the white nationalism stuff too. But yeah, I quickly just once I got into the Jewish question more, I understood that the Jewish question from a Catholic perspective is not really a race thing. It's a theological thing, like I always say. And really, that's the problem. The problem is they reject Christ. The problem is rejecting Jesus Christ. And look, I mean, there's probably people that'll watch this video and say I'm a racist because I'm doing all these voices and accents for these people. But this is how different people talk. This is what actual this is what actual diversity is different people of different cultures look different and talk different. If you actually like diversity, love diversity, this is diversity, is people of different races are different. They look and act and talk differently. And if you act like they don't, you're just a ninny, right? You're just denying reality. Okay, here's another person. This guy, his name is Shlomo Moises Levi Oive Goldstein Cohen, or Schmuck. I'm very bad at doing a Jewish voice, but I'll do my best. Oive Goy, my name is Shlomo Moises Levi Oive Goldstein Cohen, but you can call me Schmuck. I have some cool magic items you cannot find anywhere else. I just want your shekels. He's a Jewish merchant. What does being Jewish have anything to do with it? I'm just like you, Goy. I got the magic items you need. All I want is some shekels in return. Just be careful around the Jewish people. They are merchants and bankers, but they definitely don't like us. They're a goblinoid, humanoid mixed race. They have no allegiance. Watch your tongue, Knight. We're only merchants and bakers because we have a solid work ethic. You know you're not allowed to talk about us because it's anti-Druidic. My family had a Jewish advisor that secretly worked with our enemy and helped our enemy usurp us. It's just a coincidence, Goy. You know us Jewish people do what's best for everyone. I remember that our slave owner was Jewish. He certainly didn't have what's best for our people in mind. Did you kill Wysam Guiley? Help! These people are attacking me. You better stop going or you will see what Jewish power actually looks like. Sorry, we are definitely not anti-Druidic because we know that if we were, then we would be completely depersoned. You're a good Goy. Now what can you give me shekels for? And then he sells all these. And these are like the accessories in the game. I tried to make them like after saints. So the St. Michael stone increases your defense. The St. George stone increases your attack. St. Expeditus stone increases your agility. St. Cajetan stone increases your luck. St. Albert is, M attack, etc. St. Gabriel stone for hit rate and stuff like that. St. Thomas stone and ring. St. Benedict. St. Dimphna. St. Jude. St. Andrew. St. Joseph. St. Sebastian. St. Barbara. So I tried to do that because a lot of these games use like RPGs, and that's what me and Chris were talking about earlier this week. A lot of these video games use occult imagery, or they use like pagan. They'll use like say like Odin's thing or like Thor's thing, and they use pagan stuff. But I'm like, all you got to do is replace it with the mechanics of the game are fine. That's not the problem. What the problem is all the occult and like the Jewish stuff they put in there. Remember who loves you, Goy. Okay. Yeah, I promise I'll get back to answering questions in a few minutes. I'm just having fun with this. I don't for a lot of these random townspeople I don't have accents for. They're just normal, boring white people like me. There's Lucky. He's just lucky. Oh, here's our Destiny Sparkles. She's Australian. Good night, mates. I'm Destiny Sparkles. How you going? Sorry. See, and you can't say I'm racist because I'm even doing it with white people too. Well, ain't that a stinker? I'm really diva over this. Sorry for laughing myself. I know you're not supposed to do that when you do comedy. Oh well. Crikey, probably them goblins or orcs. They're all real buggers. No worries. So you blokes want to stay the night here? 10 gold for one night. Would you like to stay? All right, good night, mates. Sorry. I know I'm not supposed to laugh, but it's like to me this is funny. I guess I'm a 90s kid, and like I remember, like I'm not saying you should watch South Park or anything like that, but like that was one thing, because there's a lot of anti-Christian themes and there's a lot of bad words and impure stuff. But like growing up, man, like I thought like that was so hilarious. I mean, I was a kid of the 90s, and it's like you're not allowed to do this anymore because it's woke, because of wokeness. But I'm like, dude, it's funny. It's just funny. I mean, so like it's my game and I'm bringing it back. This is Ramakrishna Suresh Rajakumar Patel. And like it seems like I might be exaggerating his name, but I've worked in IT for like several years now. I've worked with so many Indians. I have met multiple Indians that have names like this. Like they have these long compound names, and they're like he's like, hello, my name is Ramakrishna Suresh Rajakumar Patel, but you can call me Jim. How can I help you? Like that's really what they do. Kya, main Bharat Prashin Hun. This sickens me to my core. I'm sure it had to be one of those nasty goblins or orcs. Hun, the goblin cave is to the north and the orc camp is to the south of this village. You have been eating too much spicy curry. Well, you should buy some potions to make sure he doesn't hurt himself too much. And he's the item seller. Thank you, come again. Like Apu from The Simpsons. This is another one. Like I don't even try to pronounce her name. It's just a bunch of random common first names, Indian first names. Hello, I am Nagin Patel, but you can call me Pam. Thank you, come again. Oh man. Again, I am sorry if anybody's offended, but like, it's funny. Come on, you gotta have a laugh. Even if you're like one of these peoples, like you're Hispanic or Black or Indian, and I got, not that I'm trying to sound offensive. I've got friends that are Hispanic, Black, Indian, Asian, and all of the friends I got would all think this is funny. They'd all laugh at this. They'd all be like, Justin, this is hilarious. Chun-Li Ginny Miyagi. Konnichiwa, I Chun-Li Miyagi, but you call me Jenny-san. I Arnold Dada, $5, give you good meal and drink. You talk to him, I wash dishes. I'm almost out of the town, and then I won't do these. I'll answer questions. Konnichiwa, I Chain Miyagi, but you call me Arnold-san. How Arnold help you? Arnold very sad. We some son was friend to Arnold. Friend to all Reebok people. We some son kept Reebok safe from Orc and Goblin. Orc or Goblin probably kill we some son. You're welcome. You want alcohol beverage? Make you strong boy. Your ego bigger than Arrowfront Green Boy son. So, okay. I think that might be all the accents for now. So let me check the chat. You can play as a Knights Templar. Have you ever read Henry Ford's book, The International Jew? It's actually a fair description in many areas of how things are today. Thoughts? I haven't read it. I know what it is. I know he puts in the protocols as part of it stuff too. It's just one of those things. Maybe I've read some snippets of it back in the day. It's been a while. I've read so much stuff on the Jewish question that I don't even remember. So I might have. I don't remember. I don't remember actually picking up the book and reading through the whole thing all the way through. I'll say that. But do I know what the book is? Yes. Am I familiar with its contents? Yes. Have I maybe read certain passages here and there? Probably. But now that I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm mostly interested in talking about this from a Catholic perspective. That's why most of my sources are like Catholic sources, and not that I have anything against Henry Ford, but he wasn't Catholic. I think he was like Presbyterian or something like that, which God willing, hopefully he had some sort of conversion before the end, but he's not Catholic. I don't know what else to say. Oh, thank you. Disciple says, love your content, by the way, and spreading the word with my best ability. I appreciate that. Yeah. Sometimes I get shadow banned. I can't believe YouTube let me back, but you get shadow banned a lot. And I have been shadow banned and just outright banned a lot. Like I'm outright banned from Reddit. That was like the first place I got banned from was Reddit several years back when I first started. And I wasn't even talking about the Jewish question much yet. I was just talking about Catholic social teaching and stuff. But like they are just so woke over there that they just banned me really quick. And I was like, okay, of course I did some really, really things, like really ban-worthy things, to be honest. Like they had their like LGBTQT ABC FYD like group over there in Reddit, and I'd go into that group and I'd post my article on the JQ, or not the gay Q, I call it, article on the gay question. And if you don't know what that is, I could post it sometime. It's on my website. It's one of my most read articles. And I posted it in over there and said, these are the it's like the secular reasons in addition to the religious reasons why you shouldn't be gay. And like, of course I get insta banned as soon as I post it there. And I would just do that in every board, like go to the feminist boards and post my anti-feminist articles, just do all kinds of stuff like that. So I can kind of see why they banned me, but at the same time, you gotta try to evangelize, and evangelizing means going to the places where you might not be received and proclaiming the gospel, right? So yeah. Let's see. My sons love to hear about the knights and kings and any saint with a sword and shield. Any suggestions for material to show them? Well, I mean, for knights, St. George is like the one, like the red shield, the shield with the red cross I have for my emblem. Like somebody said, oh, that's the cross of England. I'm like, no, that's the cross of St. George. So the cross of St. George is the red cross over white. And like England appropriated it for its flag, but that is the cross of St. George, right? And he is considered to be like the crusader. Well, he wasn't a crusader himself. He was actually a Roman martyr. He was part of the Roman army back during when the Romans were pagan. But he's actually kind of like the patron saint of crusaders and knights, St. George. So yeah, I would recommend him, of course. And also, I would recommend for kings, King St. Louis, St. Louis the Ninth, of course. He's a top recommendation for me as far as, like, I'm talking medieval here. There's others too, but King St. Louis the Ninth is great. And, he was also a crusader king. Like, he went to the Crusades and fought in the Crusades himself. He died there. He didn't die from being wounded. He died from getting sick, but still, he was all about the Crusades, man. So I would say, as far as Crusades go, I would say King St. Louis the Ninth and St. George, and anything really regarding them, because there was a lot of medieval stories about St. George that, of course, weren't true. They were all fictional, but they were like fictional fantasy, like my video game is here, right? Like it's fictional fantasy with Catholic elements, which is what you want, Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. People are laughing. Your dogs knows. I'm at Starbucks being served by a black barista. Well, hopefully she thinks it's as funny as we do, because I'm sorry, but funny's funny. How about a Brooklyn accent? I don't know if I can do a Brooklyn accent. Maybe I'll ask Anthony from Avoiding Babylon. He's not Brooklyn, is he? Is he Brooklyn, or is he like? I think he's like the Bronx, maybe, or is he Jersey? I don't know. He's from one of the parts of New York. Maybe I'll ask him to record a Brooklyn accent for me. I can't do it. That's one accent I can't. Well, I don't think I'm great at accents in the first place, but I definitely can't do like a Brooklyn accent. Okay, I don't recall if you have one, but it would be interesting to have a catechesis on the Reconquista of Iberia. Yeah. So I actually do plan. It's in the backlog to do an episode on the Reconquista and also of Iberia, of Hispania. The Spanish monarchs, Ferdinand and Isabella. I do plan to do something on the Reconquista in the Alhambra decree, and also plan to have an episode on Torquemada too, because people have been asking me about that. So yeah, I got these in my backlog. I just have to produce them. So that's really what it is. It's just like I've got all these ideas, and my backlog keeps getting bigger because people keep giving me ideas, and then I try to prioritize them and produce them. So yeah, my favorite Goyming channel. That's funny. My OMG started a comedy channel. Well, I don't know if I'm that funny, but I think the voices are funny. Babe says people that are offended by that should go watch sitcoms from the 1970s, like All in the Family, The Jeffersons, and Sanford and Son. Yeah, I mean, for real. Like, it's like, why is this stuff not funny? It's just funny. I mean, I'm sure people were laughing why I was doing my voices, because it's funny. And it's like, that's why it's hard to find any funny comedy anymore, because like everybody's so woke. It's like they're afraid to offend people, and it's like, well, if you're afraid to offend people, then you can't do comedy. I mean, comedy is like means you have to go out on a leg and be like, okay, I'm going to take this risk of possibly offending somebody, but if it lands, they're going to think it's hilarious, right? And I think I did my best. At least if somebody watches this, and look, I'm sure somebody could take my voices out of context and be like, look, he's a racist, look at him. But if you actually watch the whole video of what I just did here, like, it's not a race thing. Like, I had an Italian guy and I had an Australian girl, and you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not a race thing. It's just, this is how different people from different parts of the world talk, and like, we shouldn't get all like worked up about it. It's just so stupid. You guys, Prudent Lion. And if you haven't followed the Prudent Lion, please do so. He's got a YouTube channel, a YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And basically what the Prudent Lion does is, and thank you so much for doing this, is he goes and he takes my videos that are long form, that are probably too long for some of these people that are like dopamine addicted, the ones that can't watch any video that's longer than 2 minutes, it's super sad that there's so many people like that out there that are so dopamine addicted that they can't concentrate and watch a video for longer than 2 minutes. But anyways, he takes my videos that are considered long form content, even though they're like 20 minutes long, most of them, he takes them and he makes shorts out of them. So yeah, thank you, the Prudent Lion, for doing that. So yeah, please follow him on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Now his question is what's your opinion on the Diamond Brothers? I've watched some of their stuff sometime. I think I'm going to start with the good stuff. I think they're great with some general Catholic apologetic stuff. They're great when they're criticizing Protestantism and Eastern Orthodoxy. They're great even they make good legitimate points regarding the crisis in the church and everything too. They're Sedevacantists, obviously, in case none of you are aware. They are Sedevacantists, and here's my problem with them. Now I said the good things, so here's the bad stuff. Is very vitriolic, very not charitable at all. Not only them, but a lot of their followers. I'm not going to say all their followers, but I'll say a lot of their followers are very, very uncharitable and vitriolic. Well, they'll just come to my channel or social media and they'll just disrupt things. They'll just say, they'll be like, you guys are in the Novus Ordo counter church and you're all going to hell. You guys all need to follow the Diamond Brothers if you want to be saved. Just stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, this is just so random and uncharitable, and they'll just be jerks, right? And the Diamond Brothers themselves, they're much more calm, but even in their videos, they'll be like, this person is what is it? This person is a manifest heretic, and they're not a quote Catholic. They are a quote Catholic and a manifest heretic, and they're going to hell, right? It's like, so they cast judgment on people, right? Very without without much mercy. And so I don't like that. And then they take some stances that I find appalling. One stance is they're Feeneyites. They're blatantly Feeneyites. They don't really care that the church has always taught that there is a baptism of desire and baptism. We have Saint Dismas is he's in the Bible. They're in the Bible. There's saints that have baptism of desire, right? You had Saint Dismas, the good thief. He wasn't baptized, but on the cross, our Lord said, "You'll see me in paradise," right? So he's a canonized saint. And then you have the what are they? The innocents, all the children that died when King Herod killed all these all the Jewish children because he wanted to kill Jesus Christ. They're considered saints in the Catholic Church. Again, none of them baptized, right? But baptized by what? Let me clarify. Baptized by water in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. We do believe as Catholics, we do believe that everybody in heaven is baptized. But the question is, but this begs the question, right? Do you have to? Is baptism of water always necessary? Is always has to be there? And the church has answered this and said, well, no, there is a baptism of desire and baptism of Baptism of desire and baptism of blood. That's what the church is. That's a tradition of the church. Like I said, we got saints in there that even you got Saint John the Baptist. I mean, of course, he was probably baptized with water. I mean, he was baptizing people with water himself, but he wasn't I don't think he was baptized in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, which is the Trinitarian baptism that was promulgated once the apostles, after Pentecost, right? And then you have Saint Joseph, the foster father of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So you have these, you have all these people, even in the Bible, that died and are canonized saints from the baptism of desire. Now, you also have some early saints, early church martyrs, and I forget their names off the top of my head. Yeah, I'm doing this all off the top of my head, obviously. But I read the lives of the saints every night, and there's at least a couple that were not baptized, but after the apostolic time during the Roman persecution, like under like Nero and Diocletian and these other bad emperors, you have these Catholic saints that were not baptized by water in the Trinitarian name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost tradition, and they are canonized saints because they're considered baptized by blood. So you can't just, the Diamond Brothers will just cherry pick around that. And I know, like Contante Domino, which I quote all the time, it does say have a clause in there that says if someone, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I don't remember the exact wording. If someone dies, even by blood, but they haven't been baptized and they can't be a part of the church, it does say that. But the way that's understood is that they're dying for Christ, but but they're still rejecting the church at the same time. So, like a Protestant or an Eastern Orthodox, a heretic or schismatic that dies for Christ, that calls himself a martyr, like we were talking about that martyr earlier, that Orthodox martyr, somebody that dies for Christ, but obstinately rejects the church. Well, that's what it's saying, is those people can't be saved. But it's not saying that somebody that desires to be in the Catholic Church, but that just happens to die before they're formally baptized is damned. That's not consistent with Catholic tradition. It's just not. You can't say that. And that's what the Diamond Brothers say all the time. And the other thing that really makes me not like the Diamond Brothers is the fact that they also, like, they've come to the conclusion that if you're a good Catholic, that if you want to be a good Catholic, there's absolutely no parish or chapel in North America that you can, I think that's their stance in North America, it might be the world, that you can attend, because everybody is basically a heretic in some sort of sense. Like even their fellow sedevacantists, like they even condemn like Father Jenkins of the SSPV, like all these guys, right? The CMRI, everybody, which we have some of those chapels here in Cincinnati. But yeah, like they condemn all the other sedevacantists and everything too, and say, well, you can't go to any of their chapels. But if you see, they try to explain why they condemn them, they themselves again commit heresy. They commit the heresy of Donatism. The heresy of Donatism is that Saint Augustine, who's yesterday was his feast day. The heresy of Donatism is that if a bishop or a priest is in mortal sin themselves, is a sinner and not in good standing, probably with the church based on their interior disposition, you can't doubt the sacraments. You can't, like the heresy of Donatism is saying, well, this person that, they said something heretical, or they made an erroneous statement, so I don't think their sacraments can be valid. That is a heresy to believe that. You can't be doubtful of someone's sacraments just because a bishop or priest publicly sinned. That was the big heresy Augustine fought in the 5th century, and the church condemned it. So you can't just be like, well, this priest is guilty of, he said something heretical. So, and like saying something heretical is different than being an obstinate and manifest heretic too. And that's the other distinction they never make. Is like, okay, if you say something heretical, like, I'm sure, I hope I haven't said anything heretical in my videos, but I'm sure in my videos and in my articles, I've made some theological errors. Maybe even some that are approaching heresy. I hope not, but maybe, and a lot of times it's like a lot of, there's this, like theologians talk. I've heard other people talk about this, and I say this too. It's like priests talk about this. It's like you want to try to avoid talking about trying to explain the Trinity as much as possible. Why do you want to try to avoid trying to explain the Trinity? Because it's almost impossible to explain the Trinity without falling into heresy. Because you try to explain it, you're probably going to make some imprecise statement and say something heretical, right? And like, so it's like you can't. It's like a catch-22. So it's like everybody even doctors of the church like St. Thomas Aquinas and St. Augustine, St. Alphonsus Liguori, St. Robert Bellarmine, they were right about most things. And the church has said regarding these doctors, like, yeah, you can and should read their stuff. And the stuff that they have out there is not harmful to your soul. And they all have imprimaturs and nihil obstats and all that stuff. But the church also has never said they're infallible. And sometimes they get things wrong, right? Sometimes even church doctors get things wrong. So what? We can't read any of their stuff because they got things wrong. Oh, they're a manifest and obstinate heretic. So all their stuff is like that is stupid. And that is basically, I'm not even trying to strawman the Diamond Brothers, but that's basically the crap they do, right? So it's hard to just like, for someone that has any, ability to think intellectually and just kind of critically think, it's like, dude, like you guys are, I mean, when they make good arguments, they're great, but they have some really, really bad, stupid arguments they make too. And it's just like, whatever, and the other thing is I'm not a sedevacanist, right? And, I mean, I understand the crisis in the church. I understand why people are, might take that position, right? And it is an attractive position because of the crisis in the church. But at the same time, there's certain things that I just can't reconcile with what I believe about the church or what I know, right? One thing is like this is way before the Second Vatican Council. It was in canon law. It was even in the 1917 canon law, is that the Holy See, the Chair Peter, is judged by no one. That was canon law. Like, you can't judge the Holy See. And I'm like, well, how do you come to the sedevacantist position without private judgment, right? And I've had these conversations with like friends before that I know that are sedevacantists, and really when we dig into it, they always admit, they're like, well, yeah, Justin, you're right. You really can't come to the sedevacantist position without private judgment. You have to have a private judgment to do it, right? Even when it comes to the sacrament thing, because it's like they'll say, well, the visible church has doubtful sacraments. It's like, well, how do you know? You think they're doubtful. Well, how do you know that they're invalid? Well, private judgment, right? Why did Protestants leave the church? Private judgment. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why have heretics and schismatics always left the church? Private judgment. So that's one of my big things. And the other thing is like, Vatican I, Pastora Aeternus. It says, and I'm not reading verbatim because I'm playing this game right now, but it anathematizes anybody that says that the chair of Peter does not have somebody there. It says that there will always be somebody perpetually on the chair of Peter. Like there are interregnums, right? At least between popes, but there's going to be a continuous perpetual line of popes on the chair of Peter, and anybody who says otherwise is anathema. Like it's not verbatim, but that's essentially what it says. And Vatican I, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to reconcile that with the sedevacantist position, and that's why I'm not sedevacantist, right? And there's also things like heretical popes, right? Like, can a pope be a heretical? Like you got different opinions on that. Like, there's been popes before Vatican II that have said things that are, if they're not heretical, they're at least close to heresy. And I'm thinking of Liberius, Honorius, Vigilius, and John the 22nd. And Liberius basically signed something that accepted the Arian position, and Saint Athanasius was like out of his mind that he did that, right? He was like, how could you betray the church like this? Let's see, Honorius, he was anathematized in a council after he died by Pope St. Leo II. And then, John the 22nd, he famously had homilies, which are considered a very low form of magisterium, because homilies are, they're public, they're teaching. He had these homilies where he denied the beatific vision, right, which is heresy, right? So, but he did repent before he died, thank God. But anyways, like, there's different opinions on this from different people that have researched it, like St. Robert Bellarmine, right? And this is something that irks me about Sedevacantists, and I'm going to be honest about it. Is St. Robert Bellarmine says that he gives 6 opinions on on whether the Pope can be a heretic or not, or if the Pope is a heretic, what happens. One of the opinion he gives is that if a Pope is a heretic, he de facto is deposed, right? And that's the one that the Sedevacantists, they hold on to that. They're just like, well, that's what St. Robert Bellarmine says. If a Pope is a manifest heretic, he's deposed. But how do you know he's a manifest heretic? Well, the Sedevacantists, they have to appeal to private judgment. There's no way around it. But St. Robert Bellarmine, he says you can't appeal to private judgment. He says the way that if that were to happen, you would have to have a council. It would be an imperfect council because the Pope himself wouldn't be part of it, right? Because he's being deposed. But it would be an imperfect council of bishops would have to come together to depose that Pope, right? And there's actually precedents to that. Like if you look at during the late Middle Ages, when we had 2 and even 3 Pope claimants at once, the bishops got together and they finally decided who would be the next Pope, right? And then the claimants, they assented to it, and then the debacle was over, right? That's what happened. But anyways, that's what St. Robert Bellarmine says. And St. Robert Bellarmine also says his position is that it's impossible for a Pope to be a heretic. That's his actual position. And then he even goes into like Honorius, Vigilius, Liberius, Pope John the 22nd, and all these other popes, and says, well, it seems like these popes might have committed heresy, but here's why. So he was basically, for lack of a better term, he was basically Pope-splaining them, right? Saying how they weren't committing heresy, right? And I'm just saying so when people act like these again, if you're Sedevacantists and watch my channel, look, I love you. Like I always say, I have nothing against you guys. But when you act like, duh, that's the obvious position. Why don't you get that Catholic state? I'm like, well, what about these things? And then there's a big obvious thing that I'm not a Sedevacantist. I'm in, what I call the visible church, what the Sedevacantists will call the Novus Ordo counter church. So I'm in that. And yet, so if you're a Sedevacantist and watch my channel, I really want you to listen to this question I'm about to pose to you and consider it. If I am in the false church and the sacraments I am getting are false sacraments, they're invalid false sacraments, then where in the world am I getting the graces to talk about the Jewish question publicly from a Catholic perspective? And let me tell you this. I am not doing this on my own accord. I am getting graces. Like I am a man that has, middle-aged man that has a full-time job. I have a wife and a child, right? We want to have more, but it's not always that easy. So I am busy. I have a lot of health issues, a lot of chronic health issues. So from a natural standpoint, I shouldn't be doing this. But why? Why am I giving where are the graces coming from if the sacraments are invalid? I'm just something to sit with. And it's not just me. Look at, I had Dr. Jones on earlier this week. I had Father Maudsley. I do podcasts with Dr. Deep State all the time. Me and him and John Carter. hold on. Donald Trump. Read this. Make Orlandia great again. Hold on. Yeah, let me finish this before I go back to the game. But yeah, I have so all these people, Alex Poe, Will Tucker, who else? I said Father Maudsley. Like most Theo, let's see. Then there's Sam Shamoon. gosh, who am I forgetting? There's all kinds of Alex Poe, the guys from Void in Babylon, Anthony and Rob. I mean, like all of like the vast majority of the people, the Catholics that talk about the Jewish question, are not sedevacantists. They're not. The only one that comes close that I can think of is my friend American Reform, and he's not technically a sedevacantist either. He's a sedepravationist. American Reform, if you're watching this, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's your position. But like when I see sedevacantists, they almost never talk about the Jewish question. It's like they're afraid to talk about it, right? I mean, I've seen Father Jenkins, sometimes he talks about it when he's pressed by people. And then, you know, here and there, maybe a couple of them talk about it. Like if they're, you know, if they're put on the spot or like if somebody asks them a bunch of questions. But like they're no, you don't see, you almost see no sedevacantists, apostolates talk about the Jewish question like as the focus of their apostolate. But yet, people in the visible church, what the sedevacantists call the quote Novus Ordo counter church unquote, will sit there and bang on people like me and the rest of us that talk about the Jewish question from the Catholic perspective. But they can't answer why in the world, if you guys are in the right church and you guys have the correct sacraments and you're getting the graces from the sacraments, why in the world are those graces not translating into you talking about the Jewish question publicly? Why is it us? You can't answer that. And that's it's very disturbing to me. And that's a big reason why I don't want to, I would never become a sedevacantist. But let me go back to my game real quick. Hopefully you guys like this. This is like, I'm making fun of Donald Trump here. Look, folks, nobody loves Orklania more than I do. I built it. We built it. The orcs, you guys, you're incredible. Strong, hardworking, very tough. Some say too tough, but I like that. I like that in the people. Now, here's the problem. The goblins, total disaster. I don't know. I can't do a Trump. Sneaky little, I can't do a Trump accent. I'm sorry. Sneaky little creatures. They live in caves, no property, no huts, not even a front door. And now they want to come in and tell us how to run things. They say we want equality, but they don't even want jobs. They don't build anything. They just want your loot, your spears, your huts. And don't get me started on regulations. The Goblin Plan, tax the orcs, regulate the battle axes, redistribute hut ownership. Total nightmare. You know what they call that? Cave communism. That's what it is. It's disgusting. We're not doing that. Not on my watch. We had a beautiful economy, but hut ownership up, rating productivity through the roof. Orc children with strong tusks, getting smarter, some of them even counting to 5. And the goblins show up and say, they should roll 2. I don't think so. Now, this is very important. Now, when we've got humans, yes, humans, they're building settlements on Orkland, our land, and they say we're the invaders. No, no, no. They have to go peacefully, but quickly, very quickly, maybe with a little push. We're going to make Orklandia great again, folks. We're going to keep the huts, keep the loot, keep the borders secure until the goblins, not today. We're taking our kingdom back, believe me. Speaking of humans, what do we have here? Come up to the stage. Okay. Where am I at? Oh yeah, it was the Prudent Lion in action asking about the Diamond Brothers. How did you even get past the orc shoulders? Die. Okay, now here's the boss fight. Move back. Got into an argument because of the. I got into an argument because of the gay Q. Someone overheard me saying it's a choice. It is a choice. Yeah, I mean they groom. Yeah, it's a choice. See, do you know anything about Vlad the Impaler? Like, not really. I mean, isn't he another Eastern Orthodox guy? I mean, I know that's all I know is like what I guess most people know is like that Count Dracula was like named after him. I believe, you know, Vlad the Impaler. So, and I mean, he was apparently, you know, he's Eastern Orthodox, so he wasn't Catholic because he was Eastern European, Romanian, I believe, and he was a warlord. And when he was a successful warlord too, from what I understand. And when he would get what is it? When he would get when he's victorious or get prisoners or whatever, he would like do all kinds of really nasty things to them, like flay them and butcher them and just torture them and then hang their butchered bodies up for everybody to see. Like he was which was, you know, that was kind of a common thing in the Middle Ages too. Like even in like Catholic countries, even like in England or something, like on London Bridge or whatever, you'd have pikes with people's decapitated heads on them and stuff. So it wasn't really unheard of in the medieval times. But yeah, he was, from what I understand, he was kind of a yeah, he was kind of a warlord, and he was really extreme. But anyways, absolutely. Let's see, any more questions? Have you had any clergy try to censor your work on the JQ? Oh no, no, I haven't. Fortunately, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if my bishop knows me at all. So, which is probably a good thing. So yeah. No clergy has, no bishop. A lot of the priests, why did they do that? A lot of the priests I know, actually, I know a lot of priests that agree with me, and I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot more priests out there, especially younger priests, that agree with what we talk on this channel than you know. They don't always like to talk about it openly, of course, but they definitely know what's going on, right? So, yeah. I have not been censored by any of them though, so that's good. Yeah. What sect did you convert from? So here's the thing. My family, a Protestant on both sides. My dad comes from like a Baptist line. My mom is Methodist, so you know, Protestants. I was actually baptized in a Church of Christ when I was 9 years old, and it was a valid baptism. The church accepted it as a valid baptism, even. So I was baptized in the Church of Christ when I was 9, and then me and my mom and grandmother were her mother, because she was about to die from cancer. So I guess that's why they did it. And then what happened was, my grandma died shortly after that. So then we started going to a Methodist church, because that's where my mom went. My dad didn't really go to church or whatever. And then, let's see what happened after that. Then, like, I think it was about 10 or 11. Like, my mom just stopped going to church. She couldn't get along with people there or something. I don't remember. So I stopped going because nobody could take me, right? And then when I was a teenager, I just became agnostic. I even became like really anti-Christian for a while when I was in my teens, because like I grew up out in the country. Like I said, it was kind of poor country, you know, but there was it was kind of like the school I went to had some, like, I was kind of one of those people out in the country, but then they had the people that lived on the hills, so to speak, on the hill, that were richer. So they were jerks. But what was I going to say? Yeah, where I lived, mostly people were Protestant. It wasn't a lot of Catholics, to be honest. So, yeah, so that's really what that's really what I was exposed to, is Protestantism. And a lot of the Protestants around me were kind of stupid. So that was a problem too. Is like, I was like, okay, all these people were just kind of dumb. And they could never explain anything. They'd always be like, whenever I'd ask a question, that was a smart question that agnostics would ask, they'd always be like, you need to read the Bible. Just read the Bible. Read the Bible. Read the Bible. You just need to read the Bible. And it's like, well, why can't you answer this question? Like, I don't really want to read the Bible because you can't even answer my question, you know? If you can't answer my question, then like I'm not going to read the Bible, right? So that's why, like, even with what I'm doing now, and like not only Protestants, I think there was a couple of Catholics I knew, but they were just the typical, not well catechized, not well formed Catholics that weren't really practicing. They were just cultural Catholics. And that's why, a big reason why I do what I'm doing here is because, look, I mean, we have to be educated. We have to be catechized into our faith, because if somebody asks us why to believe, we need to give them a good answer. We can't just be like, read the Bible, right? But anyways, going back to my own conversion story, because I'm sure that's why you're asking. So this is in 2016-ish, or 2015, 16-ish. I started, I was playing in a bunch of bands. So when I was like in my 30s or whatever, I was kind of a womanizer. I've talked about this before. I was kind of a womanizer. I was in rock bands and stuff like that. So that was the crowd I was in. I wasn't into drugs, but, drinking, okay. But like I just, sex and rock and roll, but not the drugs, I guess you could say. But anyways, so I would, but I was starting to feel like empty, like inside, like there's this deep pit, like I'm like, I was like living it up as far as like the flesh goes, but I'm like, I was wanting something more. And that's when my friend, he was a friend of mine, that he was a drummer that I knew. He was like, he's like, hey, he's like, this guy's a stoner. He's just like, hey, dude, you know what I've been doing? I've been going to church on Sundays. This has been making me feel so good, man. You should consider coming out to church with me sometime so we'll feel good, man. I was like, yeah, okay, man. And we started going to it was a Protestant church, like here in Ohio. It's in Cincinnati. It's they got a huge Jesus statue that everybody knows about. That's off of I-71. But he would we started going to church, right? And yeah, I mean, it was really good. It was a Protestant church. It was the Pentecostal, but I felt good. But like, it was still like I was neck deep in sin. So like, it would be one of those things where me and him, like, we'd play our gigs on the weekend. We'd be playing our rock gigs, and we'd be going out. If we weren't playing rock gigs, we'd be going out clubbing, chasing women, right? And then on Sunday, we'd be going to church Sunday evening at that. So we wouldn't wake up Sunday morning. That wasn't going to happen. We would go Sunday evening. So yeah, that was pretty much it. It was like, okay, we're going to be hypocrites, right? And like, we would hear the sermons on, impure stuff, on sexuality and stuff, and on being chaste, and we were like be like, no, like, we don't care what that says. We're just going to, that's really what Protestantism is. That's what bad Catholics are too. Like, you just say, well, all this, I'm gonna accept all the things I want to accept, and just ignore all the things I'm going to ignore. And that's the problem. Like, you can't do that. That's not the Christian way. The Christian way is you got to be like, well, I'm gonna accept everything, even the stuff that the flesh really doesn't like, but I know is good for my soul, right? And that's really the Protestant way. That's how you're supposed to do things, right? Or not the Protestant way. That's the Christian way. That's how you're supposed to do things, right? And that's the Catholic way, right? So I was very much like I was getting better by going to these Protestant churches, and then I went to a non-denominational church to do like a Bible study even, and then I started going to church on Saturday evening so I can still do my gigs and wake up early. But then like at some point, like, I started meeting these other Protestants, and that's what it was all about. Even when I was going to my Bible study, I'd meet these young guys that they were like, yeah, I love the Bible and I love Jesus and everything, but I also love hooking up with as many girls as I want. And I'm like, dude, I started waking up and realizing that's hypocritical. And then like, I started seeing Protestants, and they were just like, that's how they were. And I'm like, dude, I guess that's how I was, not too long ago. But I'm like, we can't do that. We have to like embrace the full gospel, even the parts that the flesh doesn't like. So, yeah, I started thinking about where could the true church be, and lo and behold, God, it's like he's so providential, because as soon as I did that, my friend, whom I hadn't seen in years, came came out of, like I hadn't talked to him in years, came out of nowhere, called me up one day and said, "Hey, Justin, I'm moving to Cincinnati because they're starting a Latin Mass parish there." I didn't know what a Latin Mass parish there. He's like, "Can I stay with you for a couple weeks until I find an apartment to live in?" I was like, and like he was a hardcore atheist. He was like, I was an agnostic, he was an atheist. So I was like, holy moly. It's like, I'm like, you're a Christian now too? I was like, you won't believe this, dude. I'm a Christian too. He's like, really? He's like, so you go to the Catholic Church? I'm like, no, I go to this non-denominational. He's like, okay. He's like, once I get into town, I'm going to explain to you why the Catholic Church is the true church. And then, then you're going to be Catholic, right? And that's what he did. He came into town. He explained to me like that he, in his journey, like me, I guess he started a little bit before I did. He went to all these Protestant cults and sects. And he's like, he finally figured it out. He's like, the Catholic Church is the true church. And he was a cradle Catholic too. He didn't want the Catholic Church to be true. He just got to the point where he was like, he couldn't deny it anymore. He was like, well, it's the Catholic Church is the true church. So yeah. He explained it to me. I was a little skeptical still. I was still going to the Bible study, but I started taking it seriously and doing my own research and looking into it and reading on church history, reading the church fathers, reading things like Justin Martyr or Irenaeus or Ignatius or Clement of Rome, the early Christians, because I was like, well, what did the early Christians believe? Because whatever the early Christians believe, that's probably the true church. And then I read them, I'm like, okay. It's like, well, I came to the conclusion, like, you can only be Catholic or Eastern Orthodox or one of the Eastern Orthodox churches. There's a Syrian Orthodox, the Church of the East, whatever, right? Like you have to be an apostolic Christian. You can't be a Protestant, right? It just doesn't work. So, but yeah, I mean, I came to that conclusion, and it was not long after that, I go back to my friend. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to be Catholic. So he takes me to the store, buys a rosary. I start praying the rosary every day. Then he hooks me up with one of the priests at the Latin Mass parish. And I got, instead of getting a RCIA, I got one-on-one catechesis from him for about a half a year. And then I converted. Yeah. So that's my story. So yeah. Okay. Speaking of Vlad, anyone here know of a Hyundai? Yeah, I've driven Hyundais before. They're all right, but I prefer Hondas and Toyotas. Question: is St. John Chrysostom your patron saint, confirmation saint? No, that's Augustine. That's Augustine, and I'll tell you why. The reason I picked Augustine when I came into the church was kind of like what I was just telling you. I was a not very good. I was a not very good person when it came to sins of impurity. Like, I was a womanizer. I chased the women around. And that was St. Augustine's story. I knew St. Augustine's story going in because I was a philosophy major in college. So we had to read, I don't think we read Confessions, but we had to read, like, maybe we read some of that. We had to read some of his works because him and Thomas Aquinas, because like they, for the Middle Ages, they were like the two best philosophers. So we had to read them in philosophy. But even though the philosophy professors didn't like that, that was just what we had to do, right? But anyways, what was I going to say? Yeah, that was why I chose him to be my patron saint, because I can identify with him that way. But now that I know more about the Jewish question and I know more about the doctrine of the witness people and all that stuff, I'm like, man, a great saint. And so is St. John Chrysostom and St. Thomas Aquinas. If you look behind me, those are the three saints I have. I have Augustine, Chrysostom, and Aquinas. Those are the three icons. So those are my three favorite church doctors. I mean, and like, yeah, they're probably the best when it comes to the Jewish question too. Let's see. Are you in the South? My accent probably sounds like that. No, I'm actually born. Well, I live in Kentucky right now. I live in the Cincinnati area. So northern Kentucky, like on the Kentucky side of the Ohio River. But I'm actually not from the South. I did grow up in the country. So the Cincinnati area, the city of Cincinnati, I grew up about 45 minutes east of Cincinnati. So a lot of people, when they think of rednecks or like they think of hillbillies and stuff like that, they think of the South for some reason. But really, when you look at the Appalachian country is where rednecks and the hillbillies come from. That's really more like Ohio and West Virginia. And so when you start going east from Cincinnati, you start getting into hillbilly. You start getting into, I mean, you have to go several hours east to get to the actual Appalachians. But it doesn't take long before you get to hillbilly country, right? And I live 45 minutes out east of Cincinnati. So where I grew up, like if you're asking me because of what I was saying or because of my accent, this is the like my accent isn't that strong. Where I grew up, this is where people talk. People talk like this. They go, "Hey, my name is Justin, and I'm from this part of town. I like to dip and I like to drink whiskey, and that's what I'm about." That's how people talk where I come from. So it's like, yeah, I do not have that accent. So, which, I'm not knocking people that have that accent. Like, it's okay. But at the same time, it's like, I don't have that accent. So, like, yeah. Oh, that's all I got to say about that. Okay. Soy de Bronx. Plus, you said nobody should read the Bible. Plus, every English Bible is invalid. Is a true holy text. That's not true, Soy. You should take that back and repent. Any Catholic, just FYI, any Catholic Bible, Catholic Bibles are, they're not invalid. Yeah, especially I read the Douay-Rheims. The Douay-Rheims came out, and the Douay-Rheims actually came out before the King James Version did. So when these King James Version onlyist Protestants say the King James Version is the oldest English Bible out there, so if you don't read the King James Version Bible, then you're a sinner and you're reading the wrong Bible. Well, no, the Douay-Rheims actually predates the King James Bible by decades. So the Douay-Rheims came out first, right? And it's written almost like a lot of the things the King James Version Bible says is like verbatim taken from the Douay-Rheims anyways. Like in the New Testament, like it's verbatim the same. They just copied it over. Where the difference really is between the King James Version and Douay-Rheims is the Old Testament, because the stupid Protestants use the Masoretic text. And let me tell you, like, if you're a Protestant, you're like, well, don't call me stupid. Why is it stupid? Well, let me explain to you why it's stupid using the Masoretic text. So, because the Masoretic text is it is the canon that the Jews who reject Christ put together several centuries after they killed Christ, right? That is their canon, right? So this isn't like the Masoretic text isn't the canon that Jesus and the apostles used. They used the Septuagint, which was written in Greek, which was based off the Hebrew text that came before them, right? But several hundred years after they killed Christ, the rabbinic Jews decided to take the 7 deuterocanonical books out of their canon, their Masoretic canon, the Masoretes, that's what they're called, the Masoretes. They took it out of their canon, and they made little changes to some passages in the Old Testament to make it sound like the prophets were less clear about the Messiah, because they didn't want the Old Testament to sound too Christian. So they made changes to the Old Testament. And that's the Old Testament you Protestants use. Believe it or not, you use the Testament that was modified by Jews that reject Jesus Christ, whereas Catholics and Eastern Orthodox and the other Orthodox churches use the Old Testament canon that Christ himself and the apostles actually used in the first century, which is the Septuagint, which, yes, it was written in Greek, but that was the common language of writing back in the first century. And yeah, the Latin Vulgate does have some differences between the Septuagint itself, because what St. Jerome did was when he wrote the Latin Vulgate Old Testament, he took the Septuagint and then he went to some of the other texts, like the other rabbis and Hebrews, And he did consult them, and he looked at some of the old Hebrew writings and made changes that he thought that needed to be corrected. So he did do that in the Latin Vulgate. But it's not like this whole like King James version only, and my Bible's correct. It's like, well, your Bible uses the Old Testament that was written by Jews who reject Christ. So what does that say about you, right? Anyways, I'm gonna get off my. It irks me, man. It's like, how could people be so dumb? You know, like, I mean, they're just ignorant. They just don't know any better. Like, nobody told them this, but at the same time, it's like, dude, like, seriously. It's like, seriously, dude, like, especially when they're on my channel, like the Protestants that come to my channel, they're just like, well, I'm a Protestant. What's wrong with being a Protestant and being anti-Judaic? It's like, well, your Old Testament was put together by the Jews you're anti-Judaic towards. Maybe that's a problem. Like, I don't know. It's just, you got me on that one, people. You got me. Anyways, okay. Cameron, that's a very badly formed take that most people shouldn't read the Bible. I agree. Yeah, we don't say that, please, ever again on my channel. I mean, people should read the Bible. And that's another Protestant myth, is the Protestants will say stuff like the Catholics didn't want anybody to read. Again, the Catholic Bible came out before the Protestant version did. So if the Catholic Bible came out before the Protestant version did, guess what? Maybe the Catholics did want people to read the Bible. Have you ever thought about that? It's like, these people, they just open a history book, dude. Open a freaking history book. I don't know what your problem is, man. I don't get it. Y'all. Somebody explain this to me like I'm 5, because I don't get it. Been following your videos. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you, Radia Nato. Me too. His feast day was yesterday too. Yeah. Did you watch my videos? Yes, I put out a video yesterday on St. Augustine's treatise against the Jews, and I also reposted my video I did earlier this year on his doctrine of the witness people, which is about the Jewish question too. Okay. If it's not too personal, what did you do yesterday for St. Augustine Day yesterday? Well, I just answered that, CB. I made that St. Augustine video. I made that St. Augustine video on the Jewish question, his treatise against the Jews, and I posted that. I also, what did I do for yesterday? I also did a podcast with on Dr. Deep State's Locals, and I also did went to my wife's niece, I guess my niece, who's in her 20s. She just got engaged. It was an engagement party yesterday, so I didn't really party. I just sat there and drank water while supporting them, so it wasn't much of a party for me. But yeah, I mean, that was my day yesterday. So yeah, but yeah, my devotion to St. Augustine was making that video. So yeah, hopefully you watch it and hopefully you like it. Okay. Cradle. And not a lot of people talking anymore. Hopefully I didn't offend everybody and scare people off. That was not my intent. Not my intent. Cradle, makes sense. I went to West Virginia. Yeah. Good day, mate. So you blokes want to stay for the night here? Can go for one night. Would you like to stay? Yep. I need to. Makes sense. I went to West Virginia University and I went back for the football game, and the University of Parch now offers a TLM for students. We only have a Novus Ordo. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, let's see. Okay. Hopefully you guys are enjoying watching my game too. We'll see if anybody plays it. That's what I want. If you guys play this game, and I'm going to have a link to it in the description. But I would like, if you all don't mind, to play any of, like, I know I'm going to have people in the chat that are like, oh no, I'm against video games. I never play video games. That's fine. You know, you don't have to play my game. I'll have some boomers that say, I don't understand you youngins in your video games. That's fine. And there's some people that say, you know, I might like video games, but you know, RPGs are not my thing. So that's fine. But if you do like these type of games and are interested, I'm going to put a link to my game in the description. Please play the game and please leave comments telling me what you think about it. Because, I mean, this is a demo, but I do want feedback, because if I'm going to create the rest of the game, I want to make sure, like, you know, like I put something out there that fans are going to enjoy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously, if you're watching this, my guess is you're probably a fan, because why would you be watching the stream if you're not? You'd probably be bored out of your mind. like who's this guy and why am I watching him? But yeah, now I'm in the goblin camp. But yeah, I mean, please give me some feedback, even negative feedback. You know, I mean, that's fine. That's something. I mean, if you give me negative feedback, don't be a jerk. But you know, just give me feedback if you play it. Soy de Bronx, you said you went on a podcast. Which one? If you're talking about yesterday, I think I answered that. I went to Dr. Deep State's. Me and I do a show with Dr. Deep State just about every week. Usually on Fridays. He calls it Memory Hole Friday. We go over material that's been memory holed, and yeah, we just have conversations usually about the Jewish question. Now it does cost money. It's on his locals, so it's like $5 a month, but I'm there just every week, just about. I'm one of his regulars, me and him. And I mean, like, you've all, I think everybody knows that I collaborate with him a lot. You've all probably seen me on his show, and I've been on his show quite a few times too. So, but yeah, that's. And yesterday we had me, John Harder, who's always there too, and then Chris Lawrence, who did the video with Dr. Deep State a couple of weeks ago, and also did the video of me earlier this week. Chris Lawrence calls himself God Gamer on his Substack. But anyways, his whole thing is to kind of analyze media, particularly video games, and talk about like the nefarious influences, like the Jewish influences and occult influences and stuff like that. So, you know, it was a really good conversation yesterday, because we didn't like, I'm not trying to sell you on Doug's Dr. Deep State's locals, but it was we had a great conversation. Like, it would have been awesome to put it on YouTube, but we talked about some things that, I don't know, like the PORN word, the Jews and the PORN word, and YouTube doesn't like that. So yeah, we're like, okay, we probably shouldn't put this up. But it was a great conversation, and yeah, hopefully anybody that is part of his locals likes the content there. But yeah, so there wasn't any public shows, public podcasts yesterday. Oh, you're welcome, CB. CB said, thanks for telling the full truth. St. Augustine want us to know. Oh, you're welcome. That's what I try to do. I just try to keep it real and tell people the truth on things, you know? I mean, what's the point in lying about things? Yeah, I mean, it's not only sin. I just don't understand the point in lying, because eventually people will find out about the truth. And I think that's why, like, I'll be honest, and I feel very thankful and blessed that, like, I've already got 17,000 subscribers after YouTube let me back this year, and I really can't believe it happened, to be honest, because yeah, it's just so crazy to me, because my expectation was not to be even close to even 17,000. Like, if I'm being honest, I'm rough around the edges as far as public speaking. Like, I just had somebody the other day email me. It wasn't very nice. He was telling me about how he counted, like, he went out of his way apparently to count, like, all the likes in the video I did with Chris Lawrence, And he's like, you said like, I counted 300 times you guys said likes. He's like, that's unacceptable. And he's like, and then he compared me to be to like some sort of nervous adolescent. He called me. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's really mean. I'm like, well, thanks for the criticism, I guess. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm just so thankful for you know, all the people that follow me and listen to what I have to say. And I really think the reason is, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason is just because I tell the truth. I really think that's what it is. It's like I just tell the truth about things, right? And like that's why I get all these followers, because there's not a lot of people telling the truth about this stuff. I mean, there's some, right? There's some people out there that are talking about the JQ from the Catholic perspective, but there's not a lot, right? So it's an easy, I guess, an easy market for me. But like at the same time, it's like there's nothing. I'm not a talented speaker. I'm not, you know, I'm not very eloquent and polished like Alex Poe. That's why I like Alex Poe, and I'm glad he's kind of putting himself out there now, because he's young and he's very well spoken and talented like that. But I'm not. I come from the country. I come from the boondocks, and I speak in a very rough and unpolished manner, and a lot of people don't like that, you know. And that's just how it is. I mean, I could probably spend a lot of time doing something like going to what is it called? Toastmasters, to try to work on my eloquence and speech. But I'm like, man, I already barely have enough time to do what I'm doing. Like, look at what I'm doing here. I'm creating content all the time for y'all, right? And like, so people have suggested that. They're like, you should go to Toastmasters. I'm like, well, let's look at this objectively. I'm a middle-aged man, family man with a wife and daughter, you know, full-time job that's already spending hours and hours a day putting out all this content. When the heck am I going to have time to go out there and when the heck am I going to have time to go out there and go to Toastmasters or take a bunch of courses on how to speak better? It's like, you know, like I don't have that time. I mean, I could stop putting out content to do that, but then the content's going to stop because I'm going to have to take time to do that, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like a catch-22. And like, so these people that suggest this, they don't understand it. They don't get it. They're just like, well, don't you have all this free time to do it? No, right? I'm not a religious. I'm not a priest. And even religious and priests don't have all that free time too, either way. So I'm not sorry if it comes off as I'm knocking them. But yeah, I don't have the free time to do that, man. So it's like, dude, it's like, I don't know. People, there's always going to be people that are unhappy no matter what you do. You know, I feel like I keep getting better at things, so that's good. But there's always going to be people that are unhappy and are going to be like, well, you know, it's not good enough. You know, I've had people tell me that I need to just take down videos and repost them. Like after they've already had thousands and thousands of views, I got to take down videos and repost them because I mispronounced a word or two. It's like, and like the word or two I mispronounced are foreign words that are like a native English speaker would probably easily mispronounce anyways. And I'm like, dude, are you freaking kidding me? You know, and that's why I harp on people, especially trads, you know, and I guess I'm a trad too, being pedantic. It's like, man, being pedantic is not a virtue. It's a vice. You know, it's okay. It's okay to admonish the sinner. We're called to admonish the sinner, but that's when somebody commits a sin, right? It's not okay to be pedantic and just nitpick at every little minutia, at everybody's little flaws, right? That's not a virtue. That's a vice. And like, you know, it's not just me saying this. This is what saints have said too. It comes from the sin of pride. It's like, if you feel the need to correct every little mistake, then there's something wrong there. You're being prideful, and you need to check yourself. You know, you need to ask God for some humility, because it's not humble to correct every little mistake everybody makes, right? because people are, now I know, now that being said, I know Christian perfection is a thing in Catholicism, so I'm not denying that. As Catholics, we should work on our vices, work on our flaws, and constantly try to perfect ourselves, right? That is part of, the spiritual journey, so to speak. And all the saints talk about that. But at the same time, the kind of the other side is like, we shouldn't go around nitpicking people that are, we don't, admonish the sinner, fraternal correction or filial correction when it's needed. But if somebody makes a minor mistake, right, don't sit there and nitpick them. Like, it's ridiculous. Okay, always something has a question. Have you done a video on the Jewish question reference, the Portuguese Spanish Inquisition? Yeah, multiple people are asking about that, and it is planned. I'm going to do Inquisition. I'm going to do the Reconquista, Spanish Reconquista. I'm going to do the Alhambra Decree. I'm going to do Torquemada. So all that stuff. I'm going to cover all that stuff. God willing, right? I mean, who knows? I could drop dead tomorrow and not do that. So God willing, if it be God's will, I will do that, right? And speaking of pedantic, I know that was grammatically incorrect. I don't need 1,000 comments correcting me. Like, this is always funny to me. Like, I'll have these streams where I go on about like trads being pedantic nitpickers, and then I'll have comments of the people watching my stream nitpicking things that I'm saying in the stream. I'm like, dude, are you like, do you look in the mirror? Do you have any self-reflection at all? Like, dude, come on, man. Oh, crazy times, man. Crazy world we're living in. Thoughts on Catholic answers as a whole? That's okay. How to say this? When it comes to just meat and potato Catholic things, Catholic answers is fine. Just like EWTN, it's like meat and potato things. It's like, oh, they generally get it right. They do their research. You even read like some of their articles, like they have lots of citations and stuff. It's like, okay, like I do, like they bring receipts. When it comes to certain things that are more controversial, like the Jewish question, they're straight up liars. They are straight up liars. And, like, I don't know how else to better say that. Like, I've critiqued Trent Horn, I don't know how many times, criticized him, made videos on his mistakes on the Catholic teaching on the Jewish question and Zionism. Joe Heschmeyer, I think Joe Heschmeyer writes for Catholic Answers sometime. Jimmy Akin. I don't know. I mean, like, it's like one of my things. It's like, I wish these people would just stay in their lane. I think I talked about this earlier in the stream, but staying in your lane is humble, right? That is humility. That is saying, look, this is what God gave me the gifts for. I'm going to do this because this is what God wants. I've discerned it, and this is what God wants me to do. That's why I talk about the Jewish question from a Catholic perspective, and I push back when people ask me to do videos or articles on just general apologetics, or like just videos on just, I've been getting questions all the time. Like, oh, can you just start doing videos on saints? Just start talking about the saints in their lives. Like, great topic, but that's not the charism that God gave me. So my belief is that if I get outside my lane and I just buy into my own hype, that I will make mistakes and I will discredit myself, and rightfully so too. Like, I mean, people, it's humility. It's knowing your place and taking it, right? And with Catholic Answers, if they just did general apologetics or whatever against Protestantism and Islam and whatever, and then showing why the Catholic Church is true, and when they do that, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I've used them as sources myself when they do that, because it's fine. But here's the thing. They have to get out of their lane and start talking about the Jewish question, like Trent Horn, and Jimmy Akin. I think Jimmy tries to stay away from it. I think Tim Staples does too. Tim Staples has got really good stuff on the Blessed Virgin Mary and stuff like that. like, and and that's good. Like, I can't think of anything Tim Staples said that I've really been able to disagree with off the top of my head. There might be something. I don't follow everything he does, so, but but like, and Jimmy Akin, when he stays in his lane and talks about Catholic stuff, just general Catholicism, general apologetics, even Trent Horn, general apologetics, Joe Heschmeyer, general apologetics, they're great, but they don't know what the heck they're talking about regarding the Catholic teachings on the Jewish question. They don't. They clearly either they don't know the ad versus Judaist tradition that I always talk about, right? Or they know it and they're straight up lying. And God have mercy on their souls if it's the second. Because it's like, dude, you're not supposed to lie about the faith. I'm sorry, you can't get on there, and if you're a Catholic, if you have a public Catholic face, like I do, like the Catholic Answers guys do, right? Everybody makes mistakes. It's like I was just saying, I make mistakes, just like any other Catholic apologists or whatever. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make errors, sure. God have mercy, forgive them for the minor errors they make. I make minor errors too. But if you get on it, like, you'll see Trent Horn has done whole episodes on Catholic teachings on the Jewish question, and he's just straight up wrong. He's straight up lying. So there's no other conclusion you can come to other than the fact that he researched it, or he either half-assed his research, and apologies for the language there. Either he did that and came up and he only researched everything from Vatican II forward, and so he comes up with these bizarre conclusions from doing that, or he's actually researched pre-Vatican II teachings and knows what St. Augustine and St. John Chrysostom and St. Thomas Aquinas and all the church fathers and doctors and what Pope Innocent III and the Fourth Lateran Council and the Council of Florence and all this says, and he's just straight up lying and omitting it. And if he's doing that, he's potentially damning himself to hell, right? That is a grave sin of omission. And I'm not judging his soul myself. I'm saying this is church teaching. If you commit a grave sin of omission by lying or leaving something of the faith out when teaching the faith, that's mortal sin. That's, objectively speaking, it's a mortal sin, and it's a mortal sin in reality if you did it intentionally knowing it's a mortal sin, right? So anyways, Catholic Answers, for general apologetics, for general Catholic non-controversial stuff, they're okay. They're okay. Just like EWTN and other outfits. Comes to Jewish stuff like this, the Jewish question, or anything that's really contentious or controversial regarding tradition, right? Pre-Vatican II tradition, and how so many heretics have been, distorting things since Vatican II. Yeah, don't go to them, because they're going to take the wrong position on things. They're going to take a modernist position and not a Catholic position, and that's just, it's sad, but it's true. It's just God, I wish I could say otherwise. I really do. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and Soy de Bronx, you said they have Catholic Answers has collaborated with Trent Horn. It's more than that. Trent Horn's actually on their payroll, unless something's changed recently. He's actually considered a senior apologist for Catholic Answers. So is Jimmy Akins and Tim Staples and others. Like they're like, if you look at their I've looked at their financial records, like the past couple years or so, Trent Horn is their highest paid. Like they report this on their tax records. He's like their highest paid apologist or whatever. So yeah, makes over 6 figures from them. So too. So yeah. Spicy Soy de Bronx, spicy topics. Thoughts on Napoleon and his relationship with the Church of the Jews. You must be new to my channel. Sorry. I actually have a video on this, Soy de Bronx. I have a video on this. Just search my channel for Napoleon. I actually have a whole video on Napoleon and his relationship with the Jews, how he let the, like, how he, you know, made it to where Jews are, what is it, what did he call it? Was it the grand? Not the grand. What is it? The Grand Sahedron? I forget it. It's been a few months since I made the video, but it's got like 10,000 views too. So if you go to my channel and sort by views, you should be able to find it pretty easily. But yeah, I have a whole video on this. Like, yeah, Napoleon was like, he wanted to see himself as a Jewish Messiah. Like he was, he was definitely pro-Jew. I mean, he was one of the reasons that, I guess the English did it before him with Cromwell, bringing back the Jews and giving them positions of power. But Cromwell and then Napoleon were like two key figures. And I did videos on both of them, by the way. I'm bringing Jews back into power and influence in Europe. So yeah, definitely not a fan of Napoleon. I will leave it at that. Okay. Kay Blanco, we need you and others to zero in on the JQ more than ever. Well, thank you, Kay. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, Kay. I like all the comments that just say thank you, Catholic State, or I appreciate what you do. That's great. I'm always hearting those comments, and I really do love them, because sometimes doing what I do, you get some real jerkwads, commenting in your comment section. And sometimes you get people that want to make good points and add to the video, which is great too. Or they have good, legitimate questions, that's awesome too. But I really just love reading all the comments that say, hey, you know what? I didn't know this, and now I do. And I'm so grateful, because that makes me want to keep doing this, is when I get a comment like this, talking about how grateful they are, I'm just like, yeah. Like it makes me feel like, when people say, oh, I converted, I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm doing God's will, and it makes me feel really good. So thank you all. Thank all of you that say kind things like that. I really appreciate that. Soy to Bronx, Tim Staples said that Protestants are in the body of Christ. Yeah, see, that's the false ecumenism crap, the interreligious dialogue crap they call it. What do they call it? It's religious indifferentism, and that's the big problem is since the that's really the big problem of the post Vatican II problem, is that it's introduced this religious dialogue crap, which was never a thing, which has led to religious indifferentism, which is just a sin, grave sin, right? And this is probably how the many of the elect will be deceived by the Antichrist, because of all this religious indifferentism, all this interreligious dialogue. Because as we know, the Antichrist will be a Jew. He will be proclaimed as the Jewish Messiah. And I know a lot of Muslims follow me and think like my content. Let me just tell you this. You guys believe there's going to be a Mahdi that comes right before Jesus Christ comes, right? Let me tell you who the Mahdi is. That's the Antichrist. So you're going to be deceived as well. So don't think you're off the hook because you're not a Jew. No, you're going to be deceived by the Antichrist thinking he's the Mahdi, right? Just like the Jews are going to think he's the Messiah. And all these Zionist Protestants, I don't know how they'll rationalize it, but they'll probably think he's Jesus Christ reborn, like as if Jesus Christ reincarnating is even a thing. And, so will bad Catholics, right? They'll think, oh, it's Jesus Christ reborn. The Zoroastrians will think it's Zarathustra reborn, and so, the Hindus and the Buddhists will think it's a Buddha or Krishna, everybody that doesn't know what we talk about, like what the Catholic Church has talked about as far as eschatologically wise, is going to be deceived, right? It's just going to happen, right? So and that's why, for me, that's a big reason why I do this, right? And I even sent, it was a few weeks ago, I sent Simone Riscala, the ex-Philos Project, Philos Catholic director, that's now running the Coalition of Catholics Against Anti-Semitism, Catholics Against Anti-Semitism. I sent her a very heartfelt email. I was like, listen, Simone, I know you and I have had our differences, but I'm like, I sent her a bunch of passages from Scripture, from church doctors, especially Robert Bellarmine, St. Robert Bellarmine, and the church teachings. I'm like, look at these church teachings. I created a whole dossier. I'm like, it is certain church teaching that the Antichrist is going to be a Jew, and he is going to lead. He's going to roll over a Jewish empire. So it's going to be a Jewish state, like the Israeli state is now the Zionist state. It's going to be a Jewish empire. He's going to roll over it. And I know how passionate these people are about Jews converting at the end of time, because these neo-Judaizers are like, didn't you read in Romans 11 where it says the Jews are going to convert at the end of the time? Yes, I know that. I've made videos about that myself. But before that happens, the Antichrist is going to come. He's going to be a Jew. He's going to roll this Jewish empire, right? This Jewish state. As like Simone, you have to understand that if you don't tell people that this is going to happen before the Jews convert, you're going to be a part of the problem of leading all these young Catholics, because they're targeting college Catholics, right? They're opening up branches at Steubenville. I'm like, you're going to be responsible for leading all these Catholics to the Antichrist, and you're going to be damned for it. Like, you need to take this seriously. And she, I said it in a heartfelt, very, very kind way. And she's like, well, I'll read it when I have a chance to take it to a consideration. But look at what we're doing with the Tikva Fund and everything right now. We've got all this stuff lined up where we're working with the Jews to spread more information on good Catholic Jewish dialogue. And I'm like, they just do not get it, man. It's just like over their heads, man. It's crazy. Okay, here's another boss. So remember Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the boss of the orcs. Look who's the boss of the goblins. Cerny Banders, king of Goblandia. Brothers, sisters, comrades. Today we stand at a crossroads in the history of Goblandia. For far too long, the goblin people have lived in the shadow of Orcuts. For too many generations, we toiled, we mined, we cleaned their filthy war boots, we sharpened their axes for free, and in return chained, silence, oppression, but no more. The orcs say we own this land. Well, I have a question. How can you own the land when you didn't build it? Goblins carved these caves. Goblins dug these tunnels. Goblins built this community with their bare green hands. And we will build it for everyone, not just the top 1% of hut hoarding orc lords. Let me be clear. In Goblandia, we believe in a very simple principle. From each according to his ability to each according to his need. That's not radical. That's justice. The orcs want to hoard their spears, their gold, their enchanted loot, but meanwhile, goblin children go without spellbooks, without training swords, without basic healing potions. That, my friend, is unacceptable. And now they say we don't want goblin immigrants. Well, let me tell you something. These are goblins fleeing war zones, fleeing famine, fleeing the great bat plagues of the south. And the orcs say, no room in our huts. Well, guess what? We make room in Goblandia. No goblin is illegal. The orcs believe in hierarchy and kings, warlords, landlords. We believe in councils and votes, and every goblin, regardless of tribe, having a say. And that, my friends, is why they fear us, because we are building something they cannot control, a society of equals. Now, I know that the orc media is saying, oh, the goblins want revenge. No, we want accountability. We are not here to destroy. We are here to build. But we will not be slaves again, not now, not ever. As for humans, look, I have nothing against humans, but some of my best friends are humans. But if you build a settlement on sacred goblin land, well, that's going to be a problem. Respect us or relocate. That's all we're saying. So I say to you, to the orcs, and to the world, we will not go back. We will not be silent. We will not let greed and hierarchy win. We will unite the tribe, share the wealth, and create a Goblandia that works for the many, not the few. Thank you. It looks like we have humans here. Humans, come to the podium. So in case you haven't figured it out by watching this, the goblins and the orcs are warring against each other, and they're basically kind of a representation of the Democrats and Republicans that are fighting each other and basically killing humans in the process, right? The humans are caught up in the middle of this, so they're fighting each other over their stupid ideologies, right? So basically, this is like, I'm trying to make, a game like I want it to be Catholic, but at the same time, I wanted to kind of spread some of the ideas like I talk about, when I do some of my podcasts or whatever. So, it's, hopefully people like that, I'm not going to do this full boss fight. It's already noon. I'm about to get off here. Let me just see. Father Maudsley's leading the charge. Thoughts on Jesus and whatnot, Noah Cooper. Never heard of him, sorry. That's my thoughts. I've never heard of him. I don't watch a lot of other YouTubers, really. Be honest with you. So yeah. Trent Horn is partially Jewish. Yeah, Trent Horn is ethnically Jewish on his father's side. Is it Catholic tradition that there will be a great war against the Antichrist Mosaic? I don't know if it's going to be a great war. I think it's more going to be like he's going to persecute everybody, even the Jews. Like he's going to the Antichrist is going to reign for actually, I believe he's going to reign for 7 years. He's going to come as a man of peace, and most people are going to love him because the war is actually going to happen before he comes, right? So there's going to be like a War 3, right? Like a world war that kills many people, right? Before he comes. And then the Antichrist is actually going to be the man of peace. He's going to be like, oh yeah, everybody's suffering. I'm going to bring peace to you all, right? So that's why he's going to deceive a lot of people, right? And then what's going to happen is once he has power, he's going to rule the world. It's going to be persecution, or the first 3.5 years are going to be good. So people will start believing he's actually God, because that's what he wants, is for people to actually see him as divine. So the first 3.5 years are going to be good. The second 3.5 years are going to be full of persecution. And he's even going to persecute the Jews, right? And at some point, Enoch and Elias will come and preach, and that'll be a part of the Jewish conversion too. But yeah, he's going to persecute the Jews as well. He's going to persecute everybody once he gets power and it's solidified, and everybody believes, he's yeah. Okay, says your exchange with Joshua Charles was also really good, constructive. Did you ever correct his comments beyond his response to you? No, that we left it at that. He responded, like it's on Twitter. He responded, and then I responded again, and then he never got back to me. So unfortunately, it is what it is. I tried to be constructive and helpful, but I still think he's kind of stuck in that Zionist mentality, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But it's been 2 hours, guys. I got to get off of here and eat lunch. Thank you all. And God bless, my friends.